All right, well, here we are with the 40 Lincoln Zephyr Continental Cabriolet. And as promised earlier, we'll do a walk around to give you an idea of what we're looking at. Now, 40 was the first production year for the Lincoln Zephyr Continental. And most of the body parts were taken from 39 convertibles and reconfigured. The hood was extended, the front and rear fenders were extended, and the whole rear deck was assembled out of a number of different pieces of sheet metal that were basically hammered out for each individual car of the 350 cabriolets that were produced and the 54 coupes. So they all have some differences, as minute as they may be. They do all have a little bit of differences because they were all hand formed. Now that doesn't necessarily mean they were hand built, because the chassis, the engines, everything were Lincoln Zephyr on the production line put together. So now we can take a look here, and you can see some of the major differences between the 40 production car, one being the doorknobs or the door handles, and then take a look inside. So this car has been restored, and it's restored to original specs as far as the interior goes, the exterior goes. I'll move this seat up a little bit so you can see in the back. And this was all as it came from the factory according to its build sheet, which I obtained from the Benson Ford Research Center of the Henry Ford Museum. And if you happen to own a Lincoln Zephyr, or Lincoln Zephyr Continental, or Lincoln Continental, all those records were preserved and they have them. So they're available if you'd like to find out the build sheet on your car. You can contact them and they will, for a fee, provide it to you. So now what I'm going to do is I'll open the hood and we can see the power plant. As I've mentioned in a few previous videos, the 40 Lincoln Zephyr Continental Cabriolet has the original 292 cubic inch HV12 engine in it. However, it has been treated to some aftermarket upgrades. Internally, it has a mild cam. Externally, it's got a pair of polished aluminum Austin heads. It's got an Austin intake manifold, and it's got two Hollies on it for carburation. Also, inside the generator case is an actual one-wire alternator, and if you look on the firewall, you will see the absence of a voltage regulator. So let's get in the car now and we'll fire it up. Okay, so the way you crank one of these cars up is the very first thing you have to do is turn the ignition on, which I've already did. That actually unlocks the ignition, unlocks the steering column. So next thing you do is make sure the car is in neutral. And this button here is the starter button in this particular car. This was, I believe, the only year that Lincoln did this, put it over here. Next thing you have to do is come out over here, hit the starter. I always like to put the clutch in regardless of the fact that it's in neutral. And here we go. There she is. She fired up nicely. And I think what we should probably do now is take her for a ride. Okay, well, I had promised everyone to do a drive-by or a drive around the block with the 40 Lincoln Zephyr Continental Cabriolet, and unfortunately, I don't have anybody to help me today, so I'm going to have to try and do this on my own, holding the camera and actually driving the car. So we'll give it a shot. We'll make it a short one, and then once I get somebody to lend a hand here and hold the camera while we drive, we can do a much better job. So for now, we'll take it one quick lap around the block. Everybody can see that. The next one, we'll have some outdoor shots of the car driving down the road, which looks a whole lot better if you ask me. So at any rate, here we are. This is the 40 Continental Cabriolet, and we are cruising down the street. Let me see if I can get a better shot of where we're going. And the top is up right now because, as I may have mentioned in an earlier video, I had a problem with one of the struts in the top, and it's preventing me from putting the top down. So I'm going to have to delve into that and see what that needs to be fixed, and we will report on that when we get the chance. So we'll take a little bit of a cruise and you can listen to her. I've also got a muffler issue, which will be another video. We are going to swap out the old muffler, put a brand new one in the car. So let's see how things go here. I'm going to pull up to the stop sign. I will shift into low, and those of you who have not had experience with early Ford products, there is no synchro in the first gear. They didn't do that up until, I believe, when the Mustang came out in '64. So these cars, in order to downshift into low, you have to come to a complete stop before you can shift. And something my mother taught me way back when I was first learning how to drive. She said it was her habit, when she learned to drive on Model A Fords, it was her habit to always shift once you've stopped, before you take the car from high and shift into low. Take it and run it through the gears, which will free everything up and make it much easier for it to shift into low. And now I'm trying to do this with one hand, which makes it kind of difficult, but we'll finish the loop around the block, and then we'll call it quits for this video and do an extended drive in the next one. So here we go. It a practice not to downshift in any of my flatheads to try and slow them down. What I normally do is I will ease off the gas, use the brake, and then shift once I've come to a stop. The hood ornament decided to slip. That's another problem I've got. Every 40 Lincoln Zephyr Continental that I've ever seen, each one of them has a different mechanism to lock the hood. And mine broke, and I had to modify it somewhat to get it to work, but it has a nut on it that through driving and the vibrations, here I'm going to make a right turn here. But that nut comes loose, and then the hood ornament slides. It doesn't unlock, thankfully, but it does slide out of the way. So you get to see that, and I'm gonna have to take that in and snug it up again, and possibly put a lock washer on it this time to see if that will help from this situation, because it is a pain in the neck to drive once that thing decides to take a walk. But here we are back at the garage. I'll pull into the garage. We'll stop this video, and hope you enjoy my videos here on Vic's V8 Videos on YouTube. And I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe. And if you want to leave a note, please feel free to do so. See you next time.